Hello, my name's Ben and I'm the Community Chaplain for Cornwall for West Community Chaplaincy. In 2009, my wife and I found ourselves working and living in Bangladesh, and I was working for anti-child trafficking initiative. My wife worked in the slums, and our office was right in the centre of Dhaka, right on the edge of a very large slum community, from which our office manager came. And one day, Sheely, our office manager, turned up to work late, and she's clearly distressed, and we found out that the night before her house had burnt down and she'd lost everything. So of course we immediately offered help, and to which she immediately declined and said that she'd get back to us the next day if she needed anything. So of course the next day came, and we were really eager to offer our support, and she just basically explained that by the time that she got home that evening, not only had her house been rebuilt, but all the possessions that she'd lost, and she'd lost everything, had been replaced from within her community. And of course that's an amazing story of community and of how we should live within a community with our neighbours. But I just wonder whether Jesus is suggesting in the parable of the Good Samaritan, which is what I wanted to reflect upon a little, that being a good neighbour perhaps goes slightly further. Of course, as we reflect this week on being a good neighbour, I think it's worth considering the shift perhaps that in dynamic that Jesus brings. So that I think the listeners would, like Sheely, have been expecting and experiencing and hoping that the hero of the story would come from their own community, where in fact actually the hero of the story comes from a community that, or the person from a community that was not only outcast but despised by them. And this was the weak showing mercy to the strong, not the strong showing mercy to the weak. The power of God's love manifesting itself, perhaps for them in the most unlikely of places. And my role as a community chaplain and much of the work our volunteers do at SWCC is found within this parable, I think, which is why I chose to reflect on it. For many that we seek to walk alongside are the modern day outcasts of society, especially perhaps those who have committed offences of a sexual nature. And yet it's to the margins, I believe, it's to those that are othered by society and sadly perhaps sometimes by the church, that the gospel is continually calling us to see as our neighbours. The last couple of decades, ministry has taken me to many different places and peoples, from the refugee camps on the African continent to those involved in the sex industry in this country. And every time I've found myself going to these places, I've had to cross boundaries that are physical, that are cultural, and that are spiritual. And yet the hope in the eyes of those who experience the goodness and the mercy of God is the same wherever I go. And then Jesus commands us to do mercy, to show compassion, to demonstrate the goodness of God to all of those whom we encounter. And of course, no matter what the context or circumstances, is it not the same mercy, goodness and compassion that I also need from God every single day of my own life? And in the story, Jesus asked the religious experts, which out of the travellers on the road that day was a neighbour to the injured man? And the religious expert replied, well, it was the one that showed mercy. And Jesus simply says, well, you go and do likewise. Go and do likewise. Thank you.